Is Deion Sanders okay? Is he healthy? Will he be coaching in 2025? Those questions answered on Locked On Buffs.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Buffs. Welcome. I don't know if I was muted for that, but make sure you are welcome. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets. Win your first $5 bet wins. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every single day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that follow button, 5 stars on wherever you get your podcast, and let's have some fun and let's talk some Buffs football. Today was Big 12 Media Day. Coach Prime was in Frisco talking to the media. It was honestly his first public appearance, I guess you could say. He hasn't really been seen in public since probably the spring game. He's made appearances on like podcasts. Those were virtual. He was at the draft party for Shedeur, but again, that was at his home. So this was the first time, at least that I could think of, that he was out there in the open. Like he is out there in the wild, talking to the media and talking about all things except his health, which I think there's a couple different ways to look at this. Let's just dive into it. So he was asked by The Athletic, which this was obviously he's not a fan of certain reporting that certain people do, but he was asked by The Athletic how he's feeling or whatever, his health, and he says, "I'm really not going to tell you much. I'm not going to talk about my health. I'm living good. I'm living lovely, not a care in the world." Now, that is sort of the edited tweet because he sort of went at a certain reporter that he just didn't like the question, right? He said, "You going to be on that bull junk," right? He didn't want to talk about his health. And he said, "I want to talk about my team. I want to talk about like the guys here." And I think that's a nice sentiment, but at the end of the day, what is the biggest takeaway here is that he's back, right? Deion Sanders has been, he says, "I'm looking good, I'm living lovely, not a care in the world," right? That's sort of we haven't heard from him, right? We know he was losing, or he lost 14 pounds, whatever with whatever health issue he was dealing with, and then all of a sudden he sort of just randomly shows up again. And it's like, okay, he showed up to something that's down the road from his Texas home. But what does this tell me? Well, he's back, right? Him saying, "I'm here, I'm back." He sort of said that as well, where he was like, "I'm here, aren't I? I'm doing my job, aren't I? Like, I'm back. I'm ready to get back with all these guys." And I think that's a big, big aspect of Colorado, because without Deion Sanders, I mean, the program is not the same. It's not really, and people could say whatever they want. Like, he has a great staff around him: Robert Livingston, Pat Shermer, the offensive line coaches, the defensive line coaches. Warren Sapp is in that mix. Marshall Faulk is there. But at the end of the day, this program right now, Colorado, is basically Prime University. You go there, they're selling Prime merch. You go there, there's everyone just talking about Prime, right? Everyone cares about Colorado, at least on the national stage, right? A lot of people are caring about Colorado because Prime, right? And so him being healthy assures people that, hey, he's back. He's going to put in full effort. He also said, "I'm already back. I'm here today. I'm handling my responsibilities, so I look forward to it. I can't wait. You've got to understand, some of the young men haven't even met me yet. Or I haven't even met yet," right? So he's been out so long, he hasn't even been able to meet the new enrollees. So Colorado needs this sort of continuity, right? These guys go to play for him. They go to bat for Coach Prime. And him being absent, I think, and I don't know if there's necessarily, I don't want to say this is the main reason, but I feel like when Colorado's hosting guys on official visits and he's in Texas, that hurts, right? I feel like and I mean, granted, he's healing up, he's resting, I totally get it, but he's trying to get healthy and he's focusing on his health and all that. When you're not focusing 100% on the program, obviously recruits are like, okay, where'd he go, right? And I don't want to blame his health for reasons that Colorado's losing recruits, right? I think sometimes, like Cedarian Morgan, would Deion Sanders being there make a difference? Maybe, but it's also hard to compete with Alabama. He's an Alabama native, and Alabama's going to be throwing the bag at him, right? So there's a lot of things that go into this, but at the end of the day, it gives us clarity on Deion Sanders, right? I think that's what we needed. That's what we were missing, because the season starts literally, I want to say in a month. It's like a month and 20 days, if you will. So 50-ish days, I think you could say, right? Because it starts for Colorado on August 29th when they're playing Georgia Tech. And not having Deion Sanders for any stretch of the games or whatever, it would hurt. Now, I don't think he's like in charge of play calling. He's not in charge of personnel decisions all that often, right? Obviously, that goes to the position coaches, and I'm sure he has final say. But for the most part, like, the program can run without him. But there's a difference between running the program without him and sort of having the program without him, right? A Colorado program without Deion Sanders is realistically what it was before he got there, right? No, everyone was like, who cares, right? But with Deion Sanders there, there's that energy, there's that buzz, and I think Colorado needed its spark back. I think sometimes in life we lose our spark, where it's like we lose motivation, we lose this excitement that we have, we lose, I guess, our passion for something. And like I think the average college football fan, when they don't hear a lot about Colorado, they're just kind of like, okay, I guess it was just the Suns and Travis Hunter generating all the hype. But with Deion Sanders back, the hype's going to be back, the energy is going to be back, and clearly he's ready to have a big season, because he says he wants to contend for a Big 12 title. He wants to contend for the college football playoff. He was asked about replacing Shedeur and Travis, and it was interesting. He said, two really great individuals, but this team is better than last year's team. And I've been saying that, right? I do think that's true. I think the offensive line is way better. I think the defensive line has a potential to be better. I think the secondary, although you lose Travis Hunter, I think there's a lot of nice pieces in that secondary. The receiver room, I mean, 3 NFL guys, 4 NFL guys, whatever it is. 3 drafted, 1 undrafted. But you bring in all these transfers, plus the freshmen. You have Amarion Miller, Draylon Miller. I think this team is more complete. It's probably the most complete team that Coach Prime has ever had in Colorado. That being said, is it a team that has as much star power? Absolutely not, right? And star power can win you a couple games, right? We saw Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter will Colorado to victory a couple times. So it'll be interesting to see how that sort of transpires. But at the end of the day, Deion Sanders is back. So blessings, right? Coach Prime is back. He's back and ready to go. And it's one of those things where it's not the same program without him. They need his energy. They need his passion. They need his leadership. And obviously they need to meet him, some of those guys. So really exciting development here. Glad to see he's back. Glad to see he's okay, or at least he's putting on a brave face, which I think is important, because I think in the recruiting aspect, recruits need to see it. Transfers who are thinking of transferring eventually will need to see it. Everyone needs to see that, like, hey, he's good, right? When we come back, we're going to talk about how Deion Sanders is trying to save college football. Will people let him, or are they just going to continue to let this sport fall apart and be a shell of its former self? This episode of Locked on Buffs is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or a high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You could get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like it's must watch. So, if you're new to FanDuel, new customers, you bet $5, and you get $150 in bonus bets if, big if here, if your first bet wins. So, do me a favor, open the FanDuel app or visit FanDuel.com today to get started. FanDuel, go get in on that action. Welcome back to Locked on Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe button, that follow button, 5 stars wherever you listen to your podcast. Let's talk about Coach Prime trying to save college football, right? I do think it needs saving. It's in a weird spot right now where it's like we over adjusted, kind of, in a way. It's like everyone went from, I don't know, like, it was like the players can't get paid. They're amateurs, right? And then it was like they need to get paid for their name, image, and likeness being used, right? The schools get X amount of dollars off of them, and they get none of that, right? And so what the easy solution could have been, which is what we're doing now, kind of, is revenue share, which is like, hey, I don't know, you made us $1 billion last year. I mean, that's probably an exaggeration, but like, say Colorado, for instance, you made us $100 million last year, right? We're going to give each of you X amount of dollars, depending on what the coaches want to pay you, right? That's why general managers are so important, because they could decide it, right? I don't know what the number would be, but you get where I'm going, right? Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, they're probably getting $1 to $5 million each. Next tier guys, 300 to 500. Next tier guys, 50 to 100K, right? It would have been nice. It would have been nice for that to be the solution. I think that would have prevented all of this NIL stuff if everyone was just like, hey, you pay within this range. And there's probably still going to be some craziness here and there if that was the case. But instead, it's basically been this pay for play, buy players, buy contracts, buy whatever, behind the scenes, no punishments, nothing, just buy the roster, the best roster possible. And the teams with the most money are going to be the teams that have the most success. So Coach Prime was asked today what he would do to help fix NIL, because the new rev share, which went into place July 1st, so now the schools could pay players, it went into place. And so now it's like, okay, so what do we do with this other problem of like, hey, we're going to offer you $3 million to come here over 5 years or over 3 years, and blah, blah. There's a big problem there, right? So this is Deion Sanders' solution, and I think it's pretty obvious. It's not profound by any means, but I do think it's nice to hear from someone like him, who Deion Sanders was all about making that money. But Deion Sanders isn't stupid. Coach Prime was a superstar athlete who wanted that money. He wanted to maximize his value. That being said, even he knows is like, hey, this is ridiculous, right? So this is what he said, quote, I wish it was a cap, like cap limit. Like the top of the line players make this. And if you're not that type of guy, you're not going to make that. That's what the NFL does. So the problem is, you got a guy that's not that darn good. He could go to another school and give them they could give him $500,000. You can't compete with that. It don't make sense. All you have to do is look at the playoffs and see what those teams spent, and you understand darn near why they're in the playoffs. Quote, he says, it's kind of hard to compete with somebody who's giving 25 to 30 million to a darn freshman class. He basically said college football has turned into the team that spends the most money will be the last team standing. And so, yeah, he's absolutely right. College football, I don't know what the solution is. I mean, there's probably thousands of people who think they have the right solution to fix it. And your favorite expert's favorite expert is like, you know what, this is what would do it. And there, for everything, there's, I guess, a plot hole. There's sort of but if that happens, then this person could sue, right? Like that's what the NCAA has sort of found themselves, which for one, this is the easy one. I think 99.9% of people would agree with this. So I take back, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here. It stops associating with the NCAA. Like it doesn't work anymore. Associate with, maybe do that with the Olympic sports. I don't know, but the NCAA should not be overseeing football anymore, basketball. It just doesn't work. But the rest of it, it's not an easy fix. If it was an easy fix, we'd just be like, hey, by the way, we're not going to do NIL anymore. We're just going to do rev share. You guys are going to be evaluated by an agency, and they're going to determine your value, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be like your value based on production, your value based on predicted whatever. And I mean, I feel like that's a good solution right there, where this would have to be a third-party agency. I guess it would be a recruiting agency, but this is where it gets sort of dicey, because then that turns into corruption, where it's like, hey, I'll pay you this amount of dollars to boost my ranking, so that way I can make this amount of dollars when I'm in college, right? There's a lot of complications, but at the end of the day, college football needs to be in a position where the money can't be running the sport, right? I don't think money's never not going to be a factor, right? I think that's always going to be a thing where it's like, hey, Colorado said they pay me $200,000 to go here, but say Oklahoma State, they said they pay me $300,000. Are you willing to match? No? Well, then I'm going to go there, right? I think that's always going to be a factor. But I do think if we could sort of limit the exterior craziness or the whatever, right? I just think that there's too much going on. There's too much. There's zero rules, regulations, right? I think I saw something today that there was thousands of NIL deals that were sent to the clearinghouse, which is like the new method of like, hey, you have to get it approved. And only 80 of them were rejected. So it's like, and they're rejected with the the possibility of being able to be redone. So there's just not enough rules. There's not enough regulations. I don't really know what the proper solution is. But if you have Deion Sanders, who is very pro player, saying, hey, this is getting out of hand, well, there's your answer, right? Deion Sanders, coaches across college football are sick of this. I mean, I'm kind of sick of it, where it's like, okay, so-and-so just left because this person back-channeled, got them to the answer to the transfer portal. He talked about that today, which I think he was mentioning. I think it's Carter Stottmeyer, and it could have even, I don't think he mentioned it, but could have even be referencing Isaiah Gustav. Both were attempted to be poached by Virginia. Isaiah eventually went to Virginia or transferred and then ended up not going. Now he's at South Carolina. That means whatever, neither here nor there, but there's got to be punishments, right? If you reach out to my guy, to my player who's a student, he's under this is the other thing. You got to be under contracts, right? Contracts have to mean something where if you want to go to, like, say you're not recruited well or recruited heavily, and it's like, okay, well, I want to transfer up, sign a 1 to 2 year deal. And when your deal is up, renegotiate with your school, or obviously you're able to hit the market. I don't think we're honoring commitments anymore. I think we lost sight on that, where it was like, these players, why are they have to sitting out when coaches could take jobs whenever, blah, blah, blah. I get that. But I mean, this is what we're dealt with. This is what we're sort of dealt with, right? For coaches, it doesn't happen as often. We don't see a coach, for the most part, we don't see a coach at 3 schools in 3 years, right? Where it's like, oh, Kalen DeBoer is the head coach at Fresno State. Okay, now he's at Washington. Okay, now he's been there for a year or two. Now he's at Alabama, right? Like, we don't see that very often, right? We don't see coaches going, Scott Frost, 2 at USCF, 2 at Nebraska, or whatever it is, right? It's like, sometimes, for the most part, it's like 3 to 4 years. Then they get hired at the next job. That's usually when they leave for a job that's like not their dream job, but that's the job at the highest level. There just needs to be a solution, right? And I understand that's not always fair. Life's not fair. I mean, it is what it is. Players have the freedom to move. I do think that there needs to be some sort of stipulations to help limit all of this craziness. But Deion Sanders has the right idea, right? Cap limit. I think that's the easiest solution right now, just because, like, it takes away the fairness. And I'm not saying, like, Ohio State, just because they are spending $20 million and everyone else can spend $20 million, do you think that's really going to diminish how good Ohio State is? Right? They're just going to stop getting recruits? No. Right? So there's got to be a cap limit. I think players could be evaluated on their projected value or production or whatever, and there could be some sort of solution. I don't know what that solution is. I'm not the guy that gets paid to figure that out, but maybe they should consult Deion Sanders, right? I feel like he's got a good grasp on it. So that's my take on it. You guys let me know. What do you think the solution should be? Also, did Deion Sanders name a starting quarterback? Let's talk about it. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So do me a favor, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, follow, give me 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts, and let's talk. Let's talk some QB comp. That was an aggressive P sound right there. I don't know why. We're talking the quarterback comp. No, maybe that's just me. I don't know. Coach Prime was asked about it. He did this weird thing at Big 12 Media Day where it's like, yeah, I'm bringing 2 quarterbacks, right? And let me explain why it's weird or unique. I guess weird's not the right word, but we're all a little weird, right? Deion Sanders brought Kaidon Salter and Julian Lewis to Media Day, which is fine. I mean, he has the right to do so. You can pick whoever you want. Usually, a team will bring their starting quarterback. If they don't have a starting quarterback named, like, say, I think West Virginia didn't bring anybody. I don't think UCF brought a quarterback. Who else am I missing? Whatever other school doesn't have a starting quarterback, that you just don't bring one. You bring a wide receiver, defensive lineman, running back, linebacker, running kicker. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. You just don't bring your quarterback if you don't have one. And it's one of those things where Colorado brought both, and obviously he's going to be asked about it, right? Because it's like, okay, that's weird, really weird. Like, no one does that, so why would you do that kind of thing? Well, this is what he said. It was pretty simple, and I think this says a lot about where the quarterback battle is, or where he sort of just doesn't want it to go. He said, we brought both of them because I don't know which one is going to start. What does that tell me? One, I mean, there's multiple possibilities. I'm going to run you through the 3 possibilities, and you guys could pick which one's your favorite. But these are the possibilities. 1, the battle's truly not settled, where it's like, okay, we went through spring. We went through spring ball. They've had some summer to work out, and no one set themselves apart. That's the possible one. 2, Coach Prime hasn't been there, so he wants to see them in person. He wants to see things operating. He wants to see, like, hey, how does the team react to him? Like, I bet you that's a factor. Or 3, he doesn't want to discourage one or the other, right? And I think that's also all 3 of the years are very likely. But if you name a starter in an intense quarterback competition, like say it's Julian Lewis, he loses the job and goes to Kaidon Salter. You don't want Julian Lewis to be defeated and go into fall camp thinking he's the backup, preparing as the backup, acting like the backup. You want Julian Lewis having that edge to be the starter and then be like, hey, we're not gonna call on you right now, but your number's gonna get called. So be ready. Right? I think that's sort of the 3 possibilities, because at the end of the day, and I'll be honest with you, I think Kaidon Salter wins the job. He's more experienced, Conference USA MVP in 2023. A little bit of a down season last year, but still very experienced, pretty good arm, really good athlete, one of the best dual threats in the country. I think experience outweighs potential sometimes, where it's like you lean on the vet to get things going early, and if it doesn't work out, then you rely on the freshman, because if you go to the freshman too soon and it doesn't work out, you just shelled his confidence and it's a different player, right? I think you go with Kaidon Salter. I think he opens up the run game for Colorado with his legs, with the RPO stuff. I think his veteran experience, his veteran presence will help. Obviously, I'm not there every day, but I think he knows what it's like to be in a college locker room, so he could help himself have guys gravitate towards him. The reason I don't think you go Julian Lewis is I don't think you rush him in. You don't want to shake his confidence. I mean, if he's ready, you go with him, right? But next year he's supposed to be a senior in high school, and it's very rare that someone reclassifies and is just lights out. I'll be honest with you. Like, let's run through the list, and I think I think for the most part it sort of shows like, hey, reclassifying doesn't always work. So here, let's run through the list right here. This is the stat: 8 of the 9 quarterback from 2016, 2013 transferred at least once. 6 of some notable guys were Jake Bentley, JT Daniels at USC, who played at like 5 schools and ended his career at Rice. Gavin Wimsatt, who started his career at Kentucky, I want to say, and then went to Rutgers, or it might have been the other way around. I think there's no harm in sitting. There's no harm in sitting and waiting and learning. There's no harm in being ready when your name's called, right? So I don't know if Julian Lewis is ready to go right away, but clearly Deion Sanders is not ready to name a starter, and that's all that matters, right? I don't know if he's going to announce a starter. That feels like something he keeps close to the chest, or when he feels like someone truly earns it, he'll probably announce it, because I do also feel like that's his method, right? He doesn't like to give updates along the way, but if someone has earned it, he will say so. So that is the update on Colorado's quarterback competition. Let me know who you think will win the job. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast. So do me a favor, make sure to like, subscribe, follow. This has been Locked On Buffs.